Today, I'm going to show you the hidden piece that everyone seems to overlook from $100 million offers. And this is actually the most integral piece to actually figure out how to get enterprise customers and truly high value clients interested in your software or product. So we're going to dive straight into what you're missing, how to use it, and a live example using Cluely.com. Now, if you've read $100 million offers, you're definitely familiar with the value equation. And this is the exact equation that everyone seems to use in a very race to the bottom style offer system. And the only reason they're forced to use it in that capacity is they seem to forget the most important complementary chapter from the book. Now, what this ultimately looks like is tons of ads that say, I'm going to do it for free. I'm going to do it freer than free. I'm going to pay you your money back if it fails. I'm going to pay you to do it, and you only pay me if you succeed. High value clients don't care about this. In fact, it makes you look silly. It almost makes you look like you can't do it at all. How do we fix this? Well, we pivot away from these absolutely ludicrous offers entirely, number one, unless you're selling something extremely low ticket and you're fine forking money back over, right? And we remember his most important chapter. And it goes something like this. Think of as many ways as you can to sell a brick. And this is actually what the positioning of your offer is, which is informed by who it's for. Okay. And so if we go through the exercise here quickly, how do you sell a brick? Well, a brick, positioning wise, could be a doorstop. It could be a piece of art. It could be a weapon. It could be used to rob a store. Much like you don't just sell water, right? You could be selling water at the top of 250 flights of stairs, at the top of the CN Tower, at the top of the Burj Khalifa. You could be selling water up 220 steps, like in Portugal, where I just went on my honeymoon. And I even complimented the guy. I was like, I bet you're crushing compared to anyone selling water by the beachfront, right? And so this is the most overlooked aspect. And the reason it's so important is because this is where you actually prove to a prospect that you understand their current situation as well or better than them. And what that signals to your prospect is that you're a very serious seller. It signals to the prospect that you may be able to actually help them. And what the value equation is meant to do, right, is make that instinct, right, of, oh, I think he knows what he's talking about, absolutely take over their brain and make them buy because the value equation is just so ridiculously high. And the funny thing is I actually went ahead and got AI to spin this up with like the simplest prompt ever just to see if it would remember this positioning aspect. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail and show you a live example of how positioning can inform an offer and make it just that much better, okay? So let's go to something like Cluely.com. Now, Cluely.com could have positioned themselves as a video recorder that gives you all of the good stuff live instead of after the call. And, fireflies, but live, right? But is that really speaking to the outcomes that individual prospects want? So what you're going to see here is how to position around outcomes that are relevant to the target market you're going after. And this can make your ads more relevant. This can make your outreach more relevant. And this can make your content much more relevant. And this is why going after a particular ICP is important. And you don't want to end up in a situation where you just keep offering everyone a more, value-driven offer, and instead should focus on information arbitrage in order to make an offer that no one else can. So what would be an offer that Cluely can make that no other video recorder can make? How about selling to first-time founders? Okay, and you're like, why? Well, if Cluely were to target first-time founders that are specifically making their first sales hire, you're looking at someone that is in founder-led sales that likely lacks experience building out a sales team. And Cluely could be trained on the way they do sales so they could smoothly pass off their sales skills to their reps, and questions could be answered just like them live on call. Now that's an offer, right? That offer is positioned. And then you throw in all the, generic offer things. And look, it takes 5 minutes to set up. All you need is an email. You can try it free for 30 days, right? You could throw all the $1 million offer things on it, right? If your sales rep doesn't close a deal using Cluely in the next 30 days, we'll give you all your money back, right? So there's so many ways to facilitate it. Now let's think of a few others. Cluely definitely doesn't work too well in like something like field-led sales. You really do need to be having a meeting in some degree. That said, it's definitely good for conversations and meetings. You could certainly have ads that are positioned towards, people doing online dating potentially. You could have it for interviews where Roy originally made the offer. And you could also have it for plenty of industries that are highly technical. Now, let's pivot that offer and go towards just a CTO, right? This will completely change the overall goal of our offer and the overall value proposition that we're pitching. And therefore, it's going to be more attractive to only certain individuals. And you want that. You want to make it despised by the wrong audience. Because if you're liked by everyone, you're actually liked by no one. So what would that look like? Hey, CTO. And this could be, a CTO doing founder-led sales, or it could just be a highly complex, let's say, custom development offer, right? You would just map out highly complex industries, and then you would make it about those moments in the meeting, right? So maybe you start making Cluely all about answering those unanswerable moments. How many times have you lost a deal at the finish line because your rep couldn't handle a cybersecurity question, right? How the heck is a rep going to handle that? How many times have you lost a sale at the finish line because your rep didn't know if your humidification system combated boitress? And so you can make the offer that much more compelling when you frame it around a situation that they understand, right? Compare that to how many deals have you lost at the finish line due to tough questions, which, by the way, is a whole nother positioning statement compared to ramping up sales reps, right? Compared to something more revenue focused, right? In terms of an outcome. But the point is that all of these mechanisms of an offer ultimately need to be positioned against the outcomes that your prospects actually desire. It's not simply time, money, and status. It's what that actually looks like in practice. For manufacturing firms, that's scrap rate. For individual manufacturing firms, that scrap rate, peel back the onion one more time, actually looks like, cracking along your score lines in your paint process. And, a painted component is actually at the end of the product cycle. And therefore, it's actually the biggest loss because you have to redo 5 different steps when you have a mistake at that point in the production process. And all of a sudden, your product is that much more valuable.